Controversy right now is over the negative press gas stoves are receiving in the media among health officials. This, of course, is immediately turned into some kind of conspiracy by right-wing forces in the country. Their view is this: the government is coming to take our gas stoves away. An improbable scenario, but one that frightens some people very much. Here's a prime example of such thinking. Republican Congressman from Texas, Ronnie Jackson, said on Twitter, "I'll never give up my gas stove. If the maniacs in the White House come for my stove, they can pry it from my cold, dead hands. Come and take it." Some hyperbole, but the message is quite clear. Come and take it. Outside of Republican propaganda, the situation is really quite different. The leaders and higher-ranking officials of the party fully well know that there's no such drive to take away gas stoves from the public. This is their usual political deception. They'll exaggerate a statement by any Democrat to ridiculous proportions to paint the Democratic Party as some kind of existential threat to people's freedom of choice. They know that there is no plot to take away gas stoves, but create the illusion of one in order to invoke distrust of Democratic policies and politicians. It's just politics, folks. A few times I have been struck with the image in my mind of Hank Hill from Arlen, Texas. I can almost see him waving a Gadsden flag from his spatula, screaming, "Give me liberty or give me death." Should be an episode where Bobby tries to convince his father to use charcoal. So what are the White House and others actually saying about gas stoves? Well, this all started with the publication of a new peer-reviewed research that showed that the burning of fossil gases in kitchens contributed to U.S. indoor pollution. That pollution is responsible for 13% of all asthma cases in children. In some states, it's even higher. This is on top of significant research that has already taken place in the past showing such harmful effects. Right now, gas stoves are used in about 1/3 of U.S. homes. The data shows that states with higher rates of gas stove use have a higher percentage of asthma cases that can be attributed to the use of stoves. Unfortunately, there is only data applicable to this study available for 9 states. Gas stoves release pollutants and volatile organic compounds like carbon monoxide, nitrogen oxides, and benzene, all of which are directly linked to increased respiratory damage. Benzene is also linked to cancer. The damage? Brady Seals, the co-author of the study, said for childhood asthma, exposure to the gas stove pollution is similar to being exposed to secondhand smoke. Seals works in the Carbon-Free Buildings program at RMI. It's a nonprofit think tank that promotes switching to energy alternatives. The threat is real, but is being ignored by right-wing forces in the U.S., as we can see quite clearly with the reaction the right has taken. They've ignored the health issue and instead focused solely on the non-existent threat of the Gestapo coming into their homes and forcibly removing their stoves. The focus is placed on freedom of choice rather than the compounds that are killing their children. When the opposition to something is focused on switching the point of contention, you can be sure they're acting dishonestly. The reason why should be fairly obvious. The Republican Party has been in the pocket of big energy for some time now, particularly oil. This is not to say that the Democrats do not receive funding from the energy industry as well. It is that the Republican Party receives the most funding by far. As noted by Statistica.com, lobbying for the Republican Party surged to a peak of $63.6 million in the presidential election year 2020. This compared to $12.3 million which went to the Democratic Party. The greatest recipient that year was President Trump. Anything that would threaten the profits of big energy would be their enemy. No one has said that they're going to take away people's gas stoves. It has been explicitly said by U.S. President Joseph Biden and the chair of Consumer Product Safety Commission, Alexander Honig-Stark, that there is no plan to take away gas stoves. The problem is a statement made by Consumer Protection Safety Commissioner Richard Trunka Jr. to Bloomberg News. He said, "Any option is on the table in terms of regulating gas stoves. Regardless, there is no nefarious plot to take away your gas stove." In my view, I think there is something else at play here. It seems suspicious to me that this information comes out right now as the U.S. has been actively sabotaging the Russian economy, which is highly reliant on the same gas. Again, by Statistica.com, Russia's oil and gas industry accounted for around 18% of the country's gross domestic product between July and September 2022. That constituted a decrease compared to the peak level of 21.7% in the first 3 months of the year. It is essential for their economic survival. The plot here, I think, is to reduce the overall market for gas. Encouraging U.S. homes to stop using gas would have a significant effect on the global market, reducing the demand and thus the price. It should be considered that this is occurring in the context of the U.S. pressuring other nations to stop purchasing necessary gas supplies from Russia. I think it is part of a larger geopolitical strategy. Unfortunately for the U.S., it also affects certain interests domestically, which is why we have the gas industry-funded Republican backlash. In truth, we should have switched energy sources decades ago. The only reason we haven't is the capitalist class's control of the means of production. Their power, in this regard, allows them to control the state in order to favor the suppression of alternatives, because they threaten their profits. The class nature of refusing to reduce damage to the environment and children's lungs should be fairly obvious.
Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.